right, welcome to our panel. We're going to be talking about good reviews are the best marketing strategy, cultivating loyalty in cannabis retail. This is one of my favorite topics. I would love for all of our panelists to get to introduce themselves. Christy, let's start with you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Christy Palmer. I'm co-founder and president at Kiva Confections. We are across the country now, finally. Born and bred in California, started with chocolate in the home kitchen and have scaled up to about 13 markets across the U.S. And we're also in the hemp space as well now. So thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Christy. Christine?
Hi, I'm Christine Apple. I'm the founder and CEO of Gruen Confections. Similar story to Christy, started this in my basement 10 years ago. We're in 8 states and Canada and continuing to expand into other markets as we grow across the country.
All right, Tiffany?
Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany Chin. I am the head of cannabis and hemp for Snoop Dogg, so I run Death Row Records Cannabis as well as some of the other brands he has. We are in by the end of this year, we will be in 6 territories in the United States. We are in Canada, Australia, as well as, I think, Germany right now. So it's been really interesting growing this with him over the last 12 years.
Thanks. Steve?
Hey, Steve Ripperip from Tact Firm, CEO and founder. We solely focus on retention for dispensaries. And we noticed a big problem with retention, especially in the data. It was shocking to us. And so this year, we really set out to solve a lot of the problems with retention at dispensaries, getting customers to come back, spend more, and be more loyal to those stores. So this year's been really good for us. We started with 5 stores, and now we work with 48. And just in the last 5 months, we added about $1.6 million in new revenue to the stores that we work with. So really finding ways to help the stores boost revenue and keep customers coming back.
All right, well, thank you, Steve, and thanks to everybody for those amazing introductions. So our game plan for today is we have 4 topics, and we are going to do our very best to get through all of them, but I apologize, we likely won't have time for questions. To give our panel an idea of who's in our audience, how many people here are brands? Brands? Okay, how about retail? All right, tech? Ancillary? All right, we got a great mix in this audience. All right, so let's get to our first topic. This is one of my favorites. So it's about creating memorable experiences at retail. So in so many of our markets, cannabis is not a shoppable category. So I talk about this all the time. When you go to the grocery store, you're limited by the assortment that those buyers procure for you. However, you're able to walk the aisles, you're able to pick up product, you're able to look at it, compare it, sometimes smell it, taste it. In most markets in cannabis, with the exception of a few, it's a very unshoppable category. Most of the product is behind the wall, in the inventory control room, and in the vault. And so it's very difficult for brands to really interact with customers. And your bud tender tends to be that gatekeeper. So Christy, I'd love to start with you. What are some strategies that you have used to engage bud tenders and customers?
Yeah, so the bud tender is totally that gatekeeper, right? And you absolutely have to work with them. Certainly can't ignore them because they make those very pivotal decisions right there at the counter. So we've done so many things over the years. Some of my favorite programs we do like a marketing blitz to launch a state or launch a product. So we get the whole team together and we go out and market and we swag out the bud tenders where we can in states that allow it. We bring samples. Samples are huge. Such an effective way of educating and getting the bud tender to understand what your products are. So those are probably some of my favorite things that we do. Also just getting out and market, right? Just talking to people, getting feedback, putting a face to the brand is also really helpful.
I think that's really important because making sure that bud tenders understand your brand, making sure that customers understand it, having those activations are really important. So how can brands and operators, sort of dispensaries, work together to really make sure that we're able to impart that knowledge to both bud tenders as well as customers? Any thoughts?
Yeah, education, education, education. So providing product details, those samples, again, so they can taste it, they can experience it themselves. Yeah, the education, boots on the ground in store to really reach those folks. And that just helps them sell more naturally when they know exactly what your product is.
I love that. I think boots on the ground is really important. Having that presence at retail, making sure that you're always front and center. Any thoughts from anybody else on the panel?
Yeah, so just tapping onto what Christy said, one of the things we've found, and this is more recent that we're seeing, because we're really seeing the digital aspect of what's happening. We've launched a policy called Learn and Earn. So we're using a platform called Seed Talent. So we're able to actually train the bud tenders remotely. So what Seed Talent does, they log into our platform. They're able to learn. So digitally on a platform, they're learning into a program training, and then they get rewarded for it. So they get a $5 gift card. They get free product. And we're finding huge success with this. It's also allowing us to be able to touch everyone at once. So we just did a limited, an LTO, a limited release for Halloween. And it's impossible to go touch thousands of stores across the country at once. But with this, we're able to push a text to their phone that can tell them, hey, go check this out. You can learn about what this new product that we just released, and you can actually earn free product and get to taste it. So it is a platform that we have to work with the retails, but that is where we're seeing the technology come in the future of where things are going.
I love that. And Seed Talent is definitely a really great platform for making sure we educate. And that combined with in-store activation, I think can really make the difference. Any thoughts from the rest of our panel on any other cool activations they've seen that have really been able to engage bud tenders?
This is going to sound okay, so we have found in the past that trade marketing goes a lot further than consumer marketing, just because, as we've said on the panel already, the bud tenders are the gatekeepers because we're not able to touch, feel, and make our own decisions on the products on the shelves. And what we've done in the past is actually had a private party for the bud tenders and rewarded some of them, for example, the top 3 in a territory performing retailers of our product, as well as maybe the top 1 or 2 individual bud tenders of the region to come and actually meet and smoke with Snoop. I know when I started my comment, I realized that this is not something every brand can do, and it's not something that is as attractive maybe for other individuals, but we found a lot of success with that. And in the 45 days that we affected that one particular campaign, sales went up, I would say like 188%. Which was wonderful, but then it trailed off after that. But it was an amazing campaign, and it succeeded. But that's something that we found that really worked for us.
So I love that. Really getting bud tenders excited about your brands, rewarding them, rewarding dispensaries. And then you mentioned customer trade marketing. And so that's actually a concept that we see in so many other industries. And it's really what moves the needle at retail, which is like if you're at the grocery store, it's like that 2 for $4. If you're at the dispensary, it's, buy 2, get 1 for a penny, or it's a percentage discount off. And so being able to activate that way can bring a lot of disruption within the dispensary and create attention for your brand. And so I love that. All right, let's move to our second topic, which is leveraging customer and bud tender reviews. So as we all know, everything is getting reviewed these days, whether you're in the cannabis industry or any other industry. And those reviews kind of need to be taken with a grain of salt. And so it's great to get that feedback from your customer, but it can also be a double-edged sword. And you want to make sure that you're utilizing those reviews properly to continue to grow your business. So my question is, how can brands and retailers leverage these reviews to drive loyalty and growth? Tiffany, can we start with you?
Yeah, so I think that I'm in a unique position in that we have a brand, but we also recently just opened a dispensary near LAX called SWED, or SWED, which stands for Smoke Weed Every Day. And so we're now able to see not just the sell-through of our own product, but also how the dispensary itself is performing. When we did open, obviously there's a lot of social media around it, and the comments are where the reviews started coming in, which was really great to see, but also, like you said, a double-edged sword. And a lot of times people would be like, oh no, you're gonna be selling an eighth for $80, blah, blah, blah. And luckily for us, we actually know how much our products are selling for, and we know how the dispensary partner of ours is actually pricing certain items. And so we're actually able to come in and say, no, actually, you can go in. We're SRPing at 50 with a 30% off, so actually it's going to be $35 for this particular SKU that you're looking for. And we're able to respond in a very polite, professional way so that they're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll go check it out. And the responses to our responses have been very positive. And so in that sense, we're really excited to be interacting with the consumer reviews. Usually when you get reviews on like a regular retail site, there may or may not be the ability for the retailer itself or the brand itself to respond. And we see that sometimes, and it's just really helpful for us to be engaging directly, even if we don't know who that particular individual is, to kind of set the record straight, but also take that feedback and see how we can adjust how we're executing in stores.
So I love what you're talking about there, because it's really engaging with those reviews and making sure that you acknowledge them, because every time you acknowledge a customer's review, you're showing them that you care. Yeah. And so I want to actually touch on one other side of that, which is sometimes we don't get a positive review. Like you said, sometimes someone messes up your pricing, or they have, a bad experience, or they just don't like something. They don't like your flavor. And it's really more of a personal preference type thing. Anytime you see a review, there's always 5-star reviews, and then there's always that 1-star review. Yeah. And so how do you engage with a less than positive review? And how can you turn that negative into a positive?
This has happened a couple times, and I'm pretty sure that the other panelists would agree that we reach out to that individual or group, and we kind of walk through and talk through what their pain points are. And if it's an individual that's like, I got an eighth that I just feel like wasn't fresh or blah, 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 we will say that no problem, we'll figure something out and we'll get you a credit at the store or with our particular product, right? Or we'll send you some Snoop Dogg gear, great, or Death Row paraphernalia, right? But I'd like to see what the other panelists do, because I feel like this is definitely interesting to see different aspects of how we handle it as brands and retention.
And Steve, I would love to hear from you, because you really talk about like after the sale. So this is really some part of after the sale. So how do you ensure that you can turn that around? And are there any examples that you can bring to the group about how you can turn that negative review into a positive?
Yeah, and especially if you have very consistent negative reviews. So we work with some high volume stores, and we've seen a lot of stores that a lot of customers coming in, and sometimes that can lead to high wait times. And so initially you might think, hey, to solve high wait times, we need to add another POS station or hire more people. It's not always that easy, right? You can't always adjust your floor plan to add that. It's expensive, and you can't always find people. If you could, you'd probably solve other problems in the dispensary. So think of an alternative to solving that long wait time issue, where maybe you make the waiting time or waiting period more engaging. Maybe you can make the waiting area more fun, engaging. Maybe there's games there or something they can interact with. Think about the education that can be done during that wait time. If there's a staff member that isn't occupied at that time, they could go and I saw one dispensary, they do surveys. So they go in the line, they get just surveys done by people, why they came in, some really targeted questions, and then they can use those answers for making really important decisions. But how can you include a little games in the wait line, in the waiting room? So you may not be able to solve that directly, but how can you make it so that people don't mind waiting, don't mind spending more time at the store? They can learn, they can be educated, right? Because education is a big missing aspect. So being able to use those opportunities to educate them and get brands involved as well. You'd have little brand banners, pop-up stands. There's so many different ways to look at the negative reviews and improve upon that as well.
I love that. So really thinking about how do we take some of that feedback, how do we incorporate it into the experience to make it more positive for the consumer. So let's move to our third topic, which is really all about loyalty. And so we want to continue to build loyalty in our dispensaries and for our brands. And if you have a dispensary, chances are you have a loyalty program that you're trying to implement. And so I really want to talk about how can brands work with retail to really implement a successful loyalty program that benefits both the dispensary as well as the brand. Christine?
Yeah, so as a brand, of course, it's really challenging for us. We're indirectly talking to the end consumer, right? We're going through the retailers, and the bud tenders, we call them brand evangelists, right? That's really what they are, because they are the ones that are out there selling these products, and they work really hard. These guys are the front line. They are the front line people out there that are selling to consumers and pushing what they love, what they are really, really excited about. So, the loyalty programs that we're seeing are not to consumers. It's really to these bud tenders that are our brand evangelists. So, the Learn and Earn through Seed Talent, that's something that we just launched in this past year, and we've found this tremendously successful. Another thing that we've been doing with this, and this is rewarding, right? We're rewarding good behavior. Is through Sparkplug. So a Sparkplug is another platform where you're able to actually be able to push things out. So if we want to show velocity on a certain SKU, for example, our Halloween LTO, we can push something out and say, we are going to reward, we'll pay 50 cents for every Phantom Pearl box that gets sold. Say they may earn $25 from the brand over that, depending on how they're going and what they're able to move. And so those are the kind of loyalty, I say, incentive programs. So it's actually incentivizing them to learn and then to actually sell the product.
I love that. So let's talk about the difference between Seed Talent and Sparkplug. So what's interesting about Seed Talent is they're really a great educational platform, and you as a brand can incentivize a bud tender for going through the program and completing a test. The difference between that and Sparkplug is kind of that ongoing incentive program. Like you said, I'll give you, $1 for every unit you sell. And the thing about, a program like that is it's great because you're able to reach that consumer as well as that bud tender. But it can be a double-edged sword, and I definitely want to touch on this because we want to also make sure that our consumers and our patients are getting the right products for them. So we definitely want to be able to incentivize our brands and products, but we also want to make sure that bud tenders understand that not every product is for every customer, and we want to make sure that we're giving them the right experience so that they continue to come back. So are there any examples of how you've been able to work with bud tenders to make sure that that's actually the path that they're taking?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a wide product selection for folks, so that way the bud tender can make a recommendation on your brand for sleep, for example, or for focus, or something stronger, something lower dose or microdosable. So having a product line that serves lots of different needs can help your brand solve more problems for more people.
Right, so you're really talking about that customer path to purchase. So it's really about, what are you coming in for? How do you want to consume it? And then what is the right product for you? And so what you're saying is making sure you have something in each of those areas to ensure that you can meet that need for every consumer.
Yeah, and if you've tailored your products to really serve the consumer and have the right kind of profile for taste and packaging and assortment, then you can help fill their needs when they come in.
Love that. Any thoughts, Tiffany?
Yeah, something else that we do is in every case of flower that we deliver to a dispensary or retail store, we always include one extra unit, and that is reserved specifically for the bud tenders to try. And so whether or not it's a last mile type of location or somewhere that we can't readily get to in terms of our sales team, they always know that, hey, this one's for you, right? This is for you to try out, and if you like it, great. If you don't, maybe don't talk about it much then. But either way, they know that we love them because we're tossing in that extra thing just for them. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. Steve, thoughts from you?
Yeah, we work with all these different dispensaries helping out with their loyalty programs, and we send a lot of email and SMS communications out as a tool for retention. And we work with a lot of brands when they do specials and discounts, or they do fresh drops or new product announcements. And one way that brands can stand out, instead of simply doing a brand-supported deal where they'll comp them for the special that they ran, or doing like a 10% off, 20% off, think about doing like a loyalty program takeover, where maybe for that week or that month, you buy this brand's products, you get double points towards that store's loyalty program. Or if a store has different point tiers, rewards, say 250, 500, and 1,000, pick like 300 or 400 points, and maybe once a customer reaches to that point, they get a certain type of discount or incentive on a product. So get involved with the loyalty programs in those specific retailers. You'll get way more exposure to their customers. You'll get into their SMS and email communications, and it's just a fun, engaging way, rather than straight discounting, getting involved in their loyalty programs.
Christy?
Yeah, and I was just going to add to that something that you said, takeovers. Takeovers are really fun because you can come in and skin the store. You can place your products in strategic places and really interrupt that path to purchase and capture that consumer's attention, so that when they get to the front, they're already asking about your brand. So if you haven't gotten your bud tender samples out lately, the consumer is doing some of that work for you.
So what I'm hearing from this group is you kind of have to hit everybody on all ends. So you have to start with the seed talent educational program. You've got to use incentive programs like Sparkplug, and then you have to correlate that all with the dispensary's loyalty program, their internal loyalty program. And if you can kind of make all of that work, as well as get your product in front of the bud tenders to try, then you can be pretty successful when it comes to engaging with the customers and the bud tenders to drive your brand forward. As we know, this marketplace gets more and more crowded all the time, so you have to find new and unique ways to stand out. So it's a combination of technology and interaction. All right, we're making great time here, which is amazing for us. And so I'd love to get to our last topic, which is really after the sale. So you've gotten the customer into the store, you've gotten the bud tender engaged, they're selling your brands and your products, and they're great evangelists for you. Now the customer takes the product home. How do you sustain that stickiness and get them to continuously come back? We want trial of our products, but we also need repeat. And we want to make sure they're repeating not just one time, but 2, 3, 4 times to ensure that we create that stickiness with our customers. So Steve, can you give us some examples of how you've seen that be successful at retail?
Yeah, so again, we only focus on retention at dispensaries, and so we started to really dive deep into the data, and it completely shocked us with what we discovered. So let's get some audience participation on this one. This is going to be interesting. So for first-time customers at a dispensary, if you think that the amount of customers that have only shopped at a dispensary once is over 50%, raise your hand. All right, now if you think that the amount of first-time customers at a dispensary is under 50%, raise your hand. All right, so it's exactly around 50%. So that means out of the dispensary's entire customer base, about half of them haven't come in more than once. They've only shopped once and never returned. Another really shocking statistic that we saw was with what we call lost customers. So customers that haven't shopped in over 60 days. And we looked at that customer group, and we found if you don't do anything, they're not going to come back in. We measure this over months and months and months, and those people just don't come back in. But once you start motivating them, they can come back in. But here's the shocking part about the statistic. Again, out of all a dispensary's customers, about 60 to 80% of their customers haven't shopped in over 60 days. So when you take that into account, you realize a very small percentage of customers are actually regulars. And there are a lot of first-time customers coming through these stores. So what we've seen in a lot of the data from the dispensaries that we work with is that they're not having a problem getting customers in. They're getting hundreds or thousands of new customers every month, but they're just not coming back. And so what we have is a 4-step retention engine at Tact Firm, and the first step is simply looking through the data, looking at what is going on with the store so we can identify the opportunities to increase the revenue. The second step is starting to win back those lost customers. to get them back in the door. For example, one of the stores in Michigan, just in 2 months, in June and July, we added $96,000 in revenue for them just by targeting those lost customers. And the third step is installing a customer journey. So after their first visit, how do you get them to come back a second time? After that second visit, a third time, and then working them through 5+ visits at the store, engaging them every single time, understanding what they are coming in for. And one of the biggest things we look at is list size. So capturing emails and phone numbers so that you can actually contact the people. And if you're not capturing their phone numbers and emails, you have no way to bring them back in. So it's the first critical step. And all that put together is how we've been able to get all this new revenue for these dispensaries simply through retention, not even gaining a single new customer. So the first step is look through your data at your store. Have your marketing team, if you have a separate marketing company working with you, have them look through the data to show you your first-time customer rate and lost customer rate, and start working on that progress.
All right, so that's really important because at the end of the day, it's less expensive to retain a customer than it is to acquire a new one. And so when you talk about data, which anybody who knows me knows that I am all about the data. What kind of data are you looking at? Are you looking at the POS system, the e-commerce platform? Are you looking at headset data? What kind of data are you looking at to really understand that consumer?
Yeah, in a basic level, you can use the POS system. All the POS systems have the basic reporting, or you can export enough information and do it yourself. We also use our clients' Alpine IQ account, or their Spring Big, or their Happy Cabbage. So whatever platform they use, they all work. It just depends on who's using them, right? They're all different tools. And a master at their craft can use any tool to accomplish what they need to. And we see a lot of retailers switching around from platform to platform because it didn't work for them, but really it's the team that's using it. So all the platforms work, and they are excellent in getting the data out. Whether you have one of the platforms or multiple, you should be able to gather all the information you need in order to assess where the opportunity is to win back those customers and increase the retention.
I think that's great. So what you're talking about is really looking at POS. You're talking about looking at the loyalty platform data. There's also syndicated data that you can pull out there as well. You can look at how your market is trending and really develop programs to bring those customers back. Any thoughts from the rest of the panel?
It's harder. It's easier with a retail side to really be able to, because you're able to track that customer yourself. But through iHeartJane, we use you can start to see when those customers, because they are actually, consumers are able to purchase in some states, not every state, through iHeartJane and then go in and pick it up. So we're getting that data, and we're able to see directly what these consumer patterns are. So we have a pretty strong retention rate, I think, with our products that we see. But again, that's one of the challenging things from a pure brand side is we're really fairly hidden behind a curtain. Yeah, we're at the mercy of the retailers, and again, these frontline brand advocates, hopefully.
Wonderful. So we are getting to the end of our time here, and I want to thank our amazing panel for being here today. So give it up for them. And so in terms of last thoughts, it's really about making sure you engage with your bud tenders. They are the front lines of the business. They are your gatekeeper to customers. It's also about finding programming and technology out there to engage both the bud tender as well as the customer, and then being present in your market to ensure that you're constantly interacting, you're constantly getting that feedback, and you're addressing all of that feedback to ensure that you're meeting that customer need. And then after the sale, making sure that you're looking at your data and that you're bringing those customers back so that you can continuously build that relationship and create that stickiness with them. So thank you to our panel. Thank you to all of you for being here, and thank you to Benzinga.